Can you get addicted to Canary? He said, no, mate, you'll be right, you'll be right.
Enough of this shit'll make you invincible.
9 o'clock on delivery, on the desk, every single day. In this cocaine haze, I think I see some correlation between two markets.
Yeah.
I'm up $400,000 US or something, right? Mate, I hit the fucking button, $4 million. Pressure on my heart
Absolutely.
was off the chart.
Yeah. How much did you spend in total?
In excess of £600,000. Crazy. He said, I'll fucking kill him.
Gary Stevenson, biggest earner for CitiBank in 2011. Is that true?
He portrayed me as a drug-addicted trader. Is the wealth inequality going to get worse? As Gary says, physically, mentally, spiritually, drenched with guilt, shame, remorse and embarrassment of what I'd become. This is not a podcast before. It got so bad at one stage, mate.
Kent, welcome to the show, mate.
Thanks, Dodge. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to this one. Let's roll all the way back. What was it like being one of the directors of one of the biggest banks in London whilst also having a huge drug addiction?
Mate, at the end, it was fucking crazy. It was absolutely mental. I mean, in a very short sort of summary of where it ended up, I ended up being at CitiBank, and I was ordering in 3 grams of coke, 9 o'clock on delivery every single morning. And I was a trader, so I was a foreign exchange trader, trading foreign exchange for CitiBank out at Canary Wharf, getting 3 grams delivered every morning at 9 o'clock. And sometimes I was calling him back in the afternoon. I was completely, at the end, I was completely and utterly out of my tree. And the craziest thing about all of this was it was very secretive. No one on the desk knew.
So no one. You weren't sharing or anything. It was just for yourself.
No. It was crazy. 2 years when I left the bank, 2 years afterwards, when I was 2 years clean and sober, I went to lunch with two guys from the desk who'd worked with me for 15 years, and we sat down at Rocker at Canary Wharf, and I walked in and they went, "Fuck, mate, you look well." And I said, "Listen, guys, I've got to tell you something." And they said, "What's up?" And I said, "I'm 2 years clean and sober." And they said, "What's that mean?" I said, "Guys, I'm in recovery." And they were like, what, you using coke? I said, "Guys, I was using coke on the desk every single day for about the last, 7, 8 years or something." And the amounts got gradually worse. And they couldn't believe it. But I was just look, there's different types of cocaine users, but I was massively, massively, massively secretive. And the reason I was secretive, Dodge, I was just fucking drenched with guilt, shame, remorse and embarrassment of what I'd become and who I was. It was fucking horrific.
So if we roll back a few of those years, like when did you first become a trader? Explain to the listener actually what is a trader?
Yeah, so I trade foreign exchange. So basically you could think real estate. Someone's selling real estate, someone's buying real estate. So I was a trader in foreign exchange. So I worked for CitiBank, a number of other banks. I actually was a broker for 4 years. A broker is like, think real estate agent. They just put a buyer and seller together.
Yeah, a good middleman.
The trader is someone, to be honest, puts his cock on the block, as in takes a position in the market. So I was 4 years broking at RP Martin's, which was brilliant. And then I got a job at CitiBank. There's a story to be told there as to how I got that job, but or the hoops I had to jump through to get it. And that had 18 years at CitiBank. Okay, but it was my backstory is. Just quickly, left school, did a law degree. Yeah. Mate, there's nothing in my back. Like we talked earlier about, your parents who ran pubs. Yeah. My parents ran pubs.
Did they?
Yeah. Okay. I didn't live in a house till I was 12. Yeah. I lived above the pub.
Same.
Yeah,
all the way till 18.
There you go.
Yeah, from 4.
And mate, when you're in
madness,
mate, fucking characters.
Yeah, mate, proper characters.
And mate, like the first, we were in a pub called the Commercial Hotel in Surat. Yeah. Surat was 600 people, 5 hours west of Brisbane. Right. Mate, think Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah, middle of nowhere.
Fights, Mum's breaking them up and dad's trying to get involved. And it was just, farmers and cow cockies And then we went to a place called Rockhampton. Then I did private school at secondary school. Mum and Dad didn't have a whole lot of money, but they put 3 boys through.
Yeah, fair play to them.
Lost a brother when I was 16. He was 18. He had a blood disorder. That rocked me. But there was no criminality.
Yeah.
No drink. When I say no drink, no alcoholism.
Yeah.
No drugs, no violence, no abuse. There's nothing that would indicate what was coming down the pipeline for me. Then I did a law degree, left school, did a law degree, became a lawyer, hated it, and then applied for and got, somewhat surprisingly, got a scholarship to Oxford University.
Studying?
Studying the first year of PPE. They call it Special Diploma in Social Studies, but it's postgrad studies. Yeah. But, mate, I wanted to be an Oxford Blue. I wanted to play in the varsity. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. So I played Australia under 21s, played for Queensland, played for New South Wales, worked out I wasn't going to be a full international. Yeah. Went to Oxford, got Oxford Blue, then I went to Harlequins. And I was
what year go to Quins?
91 to 96.
Okay, before you turned pro?
Yeah.
Just on the cusp.
Just on the cusp, that's it. Yeah, that's it. But Dodge, we talk about the car crash that was cocaine and where, look, I ended up in a rehabilitation centre. That's where I ended up. I ended up fucked. Physically, mentally, spiritually, completely broken.
I saw that photo you sent me this morning of you as 10 stone in 2016. Fucking 10 stone. You're a big lump of a rugby man.
Yeah, mate, it was
My God.
So I lost a third of my body weight. I went from 91 kgs down to 63 kgs. I wasn't eating. I just wasn't. I dropped.
Just banging gear and not eating.
Dropped 5 stone. Just doing up to 6 grams of coke a day, and functioning. You think you're functioning. Yeah. Well,
you are. Well, you are functioning, alcoholic or functioning cocaine, but you can't be making the right decisions.
Well, fuck
right.
Well, I'll tell you. We want to hear stories, right? I'll tell you a story. So, one of the greatest mysteries of my life is this: second last year at CitiBank, right? I'm 48 years old. I'm a director of the bank. I'm trading one of the biggest books in the bank on our desk. So there's 12 of us, and I've got a budget. I've got to make $10 million trading, $10 million US dollars in 1 year.
Okay,
right. So calendar year.
Yeah.
Jan 1, Dec 31. Right. So I've got to make $10 million. Right. Now I'd been at the bank at this stage 17 years, so that wasn't chances are I'm going to do it. Right, and then get a bonus. Yeah. Mate, 6 months in, I'm trading like a fucking idiot, because I'm out of my tree, like on coke. So I'm up and down, right? Come, July, mate, I'm up nothing. I'm flat on the year. Anyway, in this cocaine haze, I think I see some correlation between two markets. Yeah. Right. So I was trading forward foreign exchange. There's this basis swaps, and I'm thinking the basis swap is leading the forward foreign exchange. You don't have to really understand any of this. Just bear with me. So I go, oh, fuck this. So I put on some risk. Yeah. So think stock market.
Yes.
Right. Visualize the stock market. And I go, right, I think it's going up.
And you put some money on that.
So I buy stocks.
Okay.
Right?
With whose money? Citibank's money.
Citibank money. Okay. Right. So it's not what I'm doing. I wasn't doing stock. I was doing foreign exchange, but just to make it easy for everyone. So I just pretend with Citibank's money, I buy stocks and the market goes up. Yeah. Right. So I'm sitting there going, mate, you got to imagine, right? I'm going to fucking coming back to the fucking desk and more, buy me fucking, buy me more, right? And I'm sitting there, right, and I'm going, and at the end of the day, I fucking look at the P&L and I'm up fucking $400,000 US dollars or something, right? And I go home, fucking probably do more coke that night, and I come back the next day and I fucking hit the button on the P&L, another fucking 300 grand overnight in the US markets or whatever. So I'm leaving this position on. Anyway, the boys on the desk start to see, everyone called me KB, right? Yeah. So they're going, fucking hell, KB, mate, you're on fire. And I'm like, fucking in the toilet, fucking back to the desk, fucking eyes like dinner plates. And I'm fucking, mate, and with anyone who does cocaine, you get pretty active when you've done a fucking big fat line, right? So I'd come back talking like an AK-47, just buy more fucking stocks. Like, you just go, fuck it. Like, mate, I'm shouting down the line. I'm shouting down to the line to my brokers, and they're going, you know, like I'd be going, you know, fuck, Marco. You go, yeah, fuck, mate, what's 6 months? Yeah, fucking 100 million, mine. He'd be like, fucking all right, done. And I'd be like, then I'd quieten down for a couple of hours, you know, and then I'd be fucking in the toilet, line, Marco, fuck, mate, you know. Anyway, well, I'm loading up, and anyway, the boys are going, fuck. Then I check my position. After a while, I'd make like, I've got to make $10 million in 12 months.
Yeah.
I'm up none after 6 months. In 2 months, I've made like about $7 million.
Okay.
I am literally fucking on fire, right? So the boys see the position. They go, fuck me, KB. That is, Jesus, that's some balls there, mate. That's a big position. And I'm going, yeah, mate, no, in the toilet. Fucking, you know, and looking at it, right? And it's like, and I'm, anyway, so I, and you got to remember, this is against a backdrop that no one
knew.
And you know the other thing, one of the reasons why no one knew, because I profiled as a rugby player.
Yeah, okay.
I profiled as a fit, athletic sort of guy.
Pro rugby player, yeah.
I said to them once, I said, listen, you know, after a couple of years when I saw them, when I got cleaned up, I said, you know, when I lost all that weight and looked like shit, what did you guys think? And they said, oh, mate, we thought you were doing triathlons or something.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, so getting back to the story, there was about, so I'd reckon September, October, there was this big fucking economic forum in Europe, right? So I sit there and go, fuck. Start of that week, it was on a weekend. I thought, you know what? If I was fucking smart here, I'd cut this position out and just bank the profit. Yeah. You know, so
guaranteed.
So guaranteed. It's done.
Yeah.
Right? So I go, yeah, fucking good. Right, yeah, good idea. So Monday, it's a big position. So I'm just unloading it a little bit through them because I don't want to scare the market and move the price away and all that shit. So I just start dripping it out into the market, right? Mate, it's Wednesday. I'm square. I've got no position. Problem is, I'm still doing coke and I'm fucking, like, I just need to do something. Yeah. You know, I can't sit there doing nothing, you know, like, well, I don't know if you've done cocaine or not, but anyway, mate, I'm sitting there, fucking eyes like dinner plates, and I'm fucking edgy, you know, like, and I'm in the toilet, fuck this. So I go back. So imagine I bought the stock market up.
Yeah.
I go, fuck it. It's got to come back sometime. I'm going to sell it. So, Marco, fuck, mate, you know, what's fucking 6 months? What's 3 months? You know, fucking right. Sell me 100 million, sell me another 100 million, sell me another 100, whatever, right? Yeah. And I'm sitting there and I go home on Friday night, and this is actually a bit of the sad part of it. But I had this beautiful apartment, which I still have, on the river in London.
Whereabouts?
Looks directly at the Houses of Parliament. Yeah. Right? Yeah. 3-bedroom apartment. Yeah. No clocks in that apartment, mate. Yeah. Fucking Big Ben. Yeah. You want to know the time? Yeah. Look out the window. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm there, single, right? And, you know, it's sad. I'm a cocaine addict. I'm an addict. It's fucking sad. Anyway, I get on the train at Waterloo, at Canary Wharf, the tube, get off at Waterloo, walk down, ring the coke dealer. Mate, it's about 5:30 Friday afternoon, and I do coke all weekend. I hardly leave the apartment. And this is, you know, it's sad stuff, sick. Anyway, I
Just
go...
by yourself?
All by myself.
Okay, no.
Yeah.
Curtains closed. Twitching.
You know, it's just, if any addict listening to this will know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, mate, this is where it gets fucking crazy. I go to work Monday morning, right? I walk in, I look like shit. Right? Someone says, mate, you look fucking terrible. I said, oh, yeah, mate, I've had the flu. I've been in bed all weekend and, you know, fucking blah, blah, blah. Anyway, this other guy, he logs into the systems and he goes, have you looked at your position? And I said, no. He said, do you know what happened on the weekend at that fucking economic forum? And I said, mate, I was so fucking, I'd lied, you know, I said, I was so fucking sick. Mate, I hit the fucking button, $4 million. Made $4 million over the weekend. The fucking market just absolutely fell out of bed. Okay. So at the end of this, cut a long story short, by the end of that year, I think I was up $24 million. I got paid a $2 million bonus. And within 15 months, I was out of the bank, and not long after that into a rehab. And the reason I tell you the story is because it's got pretty much everything in there, is in like chaos, carnage, unmanageability, addiction, physical, mentally, spiritually broken, yet functioning.
Yeah.
Something was in me, was still operating.
Putting on a front.
Make masks, role playing, acting,
Lying,
manipulating, deceitful, dishonest. Like it just had the lot. When I look back on it, mate, I've done rehab. I've done a 12-step program. Probably done about fucking 600, 700 NA meetings over the last 9 years.
Yeah.
Helped a lot of people, but also had the opportunity to process my life and work out sort of why things happen, but also to let go.
Yeah.
Mate, I'm okay today.
Yeah.
I tell you all these stories, but they are 10 years ago.
Yeah.
They are not. They are a part of my life. I'll tell them freely, not with any ego or bravado, but more of a cautionary warning to those guys that are out there, guys and girls that are in the markets, got plenty of disposable cash, living that lifestyle.
Yeah.
Mate, the vices are there. Be careful, because, I was functioning for a long time, but I came within a hair's breadth of dying.
Yeah,
There's no
sure.
to it. Mate, you're 20 or 30 grams of cocaine in your body on a weekly basis. 6 grams a day, mate, the pressure on my heart was off the charts.
Yeah.
And financially, £80,000 a year.
You're spending, how much did you spend in total on cocaine?
Yeah, so in excess of £600,000, and that's not partying, that's coke.
Yeah.
Straight up the nose. Had to have a little procedure in the back of my nose once I got clean sober to get.
It was the hole up your nose.
Yeah, there was some stuff there that needed to be sorted out. But mate, when I went to rehab, mate, I was sitting in rehab and they give you an exercise each night. This one night they said to me, they said to everyone, like, fucking hell, rehab, Jesus, took me back.
Yeah.
Just felt it then.
Yeah.
I was a mess, mate. When I went in there, and 4 days into rehab, I was sitting on this bed and I was crying my eyes out.
Yeah.
Mate, you got to remember, I was financially secure. When I went into that rehab, I had properties in the UK, properties on the Sunshine Coast in Australia, 2 beautiful young children who were 5 and 3. Yet, mate, I was swimming in a cesspit of self-loathing, self-pity, paranoia, anger, resentment. And I sat on this bed and I sobbed. 4 days in, I sobbed and I sobbed and I sobbed uncontrollably for the person that I had become and the person I'd lost. And all those things I wore my country's jersey, Australia under 21. I'm a proud, proud, proud Queenslander. I wore that jersey. I played against the British Lions.
Yeah.
For New South Wales, played against the British Lions. Mate, I've run out at Twickenham so many times. I played in a cup final against Leicester. Yeah. I played with Brian Moore, Jason Leonard, Peter Winterbottom, Mickey Skinner, Will Carley. In Australia,
legends,
in Australia, I played with Timmy Horan, Jason Little, John Eales, David Campese. Yeah. I played in the varsity, mate, this, that, and the other, and here I was. And I was a I don't like saying that. I was comfortable.
You were super wealthy at the time.
Well, I was wealthy.
Yeah.
Mate, it's like...
Yeah, you don't want to say too much. No,
yeah, but also there's wealthy and there's super wealthy.
Yeah.
I was comfortable.
But for a city broker, you were... How much were you on a year at your peak?
I was on... So it's all about the bonus, right?
Okay.
Basics was 200.
So 200 grand sterling basic. Yeah. And then what was your biggest bonus you ever earned?
Yeah, so the two I got were 2 million.
2 million.
Mate, the first one I got... The first $2 million bonus I got was 15 years ago. $2 million bucks.
That's a serious amount
15
of money.
years ago.
That's a serious amount of money.
Yeah, serious amount. But I remember...
So what's that, 2010?
Yeah, so 2010. Yeah, I got around... Yeah, that's right. And mate, there you go. Global financial crisis, 2008, 2009, I got 2 million. And then about 2012 or 13, I got another 2 million. And then, mate, there's 1.5, there's 800, there's 1 million. Mate, US, to think about all that, right? Not that I want to downplay it, but 50% straight away goes to tax.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But listen, it's a lot of money. And I'd sit there and go, I used to sit there and, well, even today, I think to myself, I scratch myself today and go, pinch myself today and go, how many people play for their country, get a law degree, go to Oxford University, work for a major bank, earn a lot of money, get addicted, get recovery, help others, mate, it has been a fucking unbelievable
journey, isn't it?
Starting out in a pub.
Yeah, there you go.
Starting out living
all the
above
best stories come from a boozer in a pub as a kid, isn't it?
I'll tell you a story. I was playing golf with my dad, and this would be, so
How old are you today?
60.
Okay. Don't look 60, mate.
Mate, I was about to
Yeah.
say, you took a bit long to
Yeah.
say that, mate. I was
Yeah.
fucking, you could have come in a bit, mate. You could have come in a bit quicker. Mate, well, listen, someone said, mate.
Do you feel alive?
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, when you got a reference point of feeling dead,
Yes.
mate, I was on my hands and knees,
I bet.
metaphorically, the Grim Reaper was just sitting, just hovering, just waiting. And all I had to do was just have a bad heartbeat, and I would have died and left 2 young children. Yeah. And today, mate, I'm clean, I'm sober, and people say, look, people say, geez, mate, you look well today.
Yeah.
And I go, look, I don't drink, I don't drug, I don't smoke. I go to the gym 3 times a week. Yeah. Like I do a bit of walking. I sort of watch,
living in the present
and helping other people.
Yeah.
I was with my dad, right? I think I was, so say 25 years ago. So millennium. And we were on this golf course, Budrum in Queensland. And Dad, mate, my father's he's a worker.
Yeah.
If you like your dad.
Yeah, grafter.
Pubs,
mate,
they're fucking hard
grafters.
yards.
And hard men.
Yep, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're running a pub, you've got to, first of all, you've got to run it as a business. Then you're going to make sure you're not getting ripped off.
And then you've got to protect it.
Then there's people coming in there pissed and you're trying
Violence
to...
and doorman.
Violence,
long
hours.
I grew up watching my old man knocking people out.
Yeah.
How mad's that? He was a big lump, he was a big bodybuilder, but he protected his boozer. We had 2 Alsatians and a Doberman. We had doormen, which were bouncers back in the day. Dad was there banging people, shipping people out. Yeah. Police raids. It was just madness as a kid. I loved it. I loved it. I know. It makes you who you are today, right? Well, the character.
Well, I think also... what it does, I think also, what it becomes of you is it makes you, for want of a better word, a bit charismatic yourself.
Yeah, mate, 100%.
You got a bit of character about yourself, and also you get to you can spot people.
Yeah, you can read a room.
This guy's fucking not right.
Yeah,
This guy's full of shit. This guy's really good bloke. I like this guy's style. I like and I think that served me quite well.
Yeah,
I was on this golf course and I was with Dad, and mate, I said, mate, just stop for a second. And he said, what's up? I said, mate, I'm going to tell you something, but, mate, I don't want fucking everyone to know. I said, it's just between you and me. And he said, yeah, sure. I said, look, I got my bonus recently. And he said, oh, yeah, well, what'd you get? And I said, Dad, I got $1 million.
He couldn't believe it.
And he couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I bet.
He just looked at me and he said, you got $1 million bonus. And I said, well, they call it total comp. So total comp, they say, there's your... Mate, what happens is it works out like this, right? You go in on comp day and there's your boss. And you sit right on the desk. Someone will say, KB, you're up. You walk into, fucking fishbowl office at the end of, big shiny building in Canary Wharf, and your boss is there. And, mate, he just pushes across an A4 piece of paper, right? And there's all this shit. When I say shit,
all the stuff that you've done.
No. It's like your name and like say your address and your national insurance number and your basic pay, then your health and whatever, mate. The I line just goes straight to that bottom number. That bottom number's everything. Fuck all this shit, right? I know who I am. I know where I live. And it's literally
how much? Yeah.
Jerry,
how many notes?
It's literally Jerry Maguire.
Yeah. Show me the money. Yeah.
So I sat there and there it was, mate, 7 figures.
Wow.
1, 3 zeros, 3 zeros, total comp. And, mate, I just thought to myself, I've never seen anything like it before in my life. Yeah. I was 35. Mate, I'm from Rockhampton. That's where Surat was till I was 6, and Rockhampton 6 till 19, 50,000 people. Yeah. Mate, a lot of farmers and cow cockies and whatever. I sat there and I thought, fucking $1 million. And, mate, look, it's been a journey.
Tell me the journey when you first become a broker or a trader, sorry. Yeah. You did that first 4 years. How did you go from that first 4 years? How much were you on in those first 4 years? And then how did you get the job at the CitiBank?
Brilliant. Mate, you led me into that really, really well. So when, Dodge, you grew up in which part of London?
All over,
yeah. Right, okay. Mate,
South London, okay, Southwest London.
Right, but if you get those, like Southwest or East London or North London, you get people who are, mate, they're street smart.
Yeah.
Right? So I go to Harlequins and they said, Yeah, I played a couple of trial matches for them. They go, yeah, we want you. We see you're a lawyer. I said, I don't want to do law.
Yeah.
Anyway, they said, okay, well, there's this, we'll go up to London, give you, you can get a couple of interviews at money broking companies, right? And I said, I don't even know what the fuck money broking is. And they said, oh, don't worry about it, just go up there, sort of thing. So I had an interview with this company called Tullet in Tokyo. Mate, 2 interviews, 4-hour lunches.
Yeah.
Just sit there, just fucking
getting on it.
Mate, telling rugby stories. I fucking go home, and I wasn't doing gear at that stage. I'm fucking pissed.
Yeah.
And I'd go, fuck, was that a job interview? Anyway, and they didn't offer me a job. And there was this guy called Graham Burkett. He used to play for Harlequins. He's at this company called RP Martins. And I went in, and with money broking, right, you don't have to have a degree. A lot of East End boys in money broking, Borough boys. What you need is personality. Yep. You know the story, Dodge. You got that thing. You've got it. If you're running businesses, you're running events, whatever, you got to put people together. Mate, you've got to have the personality. You got to have the charisma to get it done. So Money Broking was full of guys from Kent, East End guys, North London, South West, whatever. Yeah. Not necessarily got degrees, not necessarily got great education, but they're charismatic, they're personalities. And they get the banks. So I was the broker, and these money brokers are in the middle. Yeah. They speak to the banks, and they go, well, man, what do you got? Oh, I want to sell something. What do you got? Oh, I want to buy something. Well, job done.
Done. And take their cut.
That's how they work. Yeah. So I went home and spoke to Burko. Mate, he's a big rugby guy. 20-minute interview, 18 minutes on rugby. Yeah. 2 minutes, he goes, how much Tullet's offered you? I said, I think they can offer me 12 grand, right? This is 1991. He said, 18 grand, start on Monday. I said, fine. Yeah. So I started money broking. And this was when life was fucking great. Yeah. Jeez, it was good. Mate, simple back then, right? Oh, mate,
rugby, beers, no social media, no nothing, partying, loving life.
I bought, how's this? I'm playing for Harlequins, right? So I'm in the first team with all those names.
What position?
Fly half or fullback, depending on who's injured and who's not, because David Pears, he played for England, and Stuart Thresher and another guy called Paul Challen. There was 4 of us for 2 positions. Pearsy and I were injured a lot, so we sort of anyway. So I was playing for Harlequins, mate. I was going out with this girl who was a Group 1 winner. She was very, very attractive, mate. She, well above my
punching way above your weight. Was
always right.
Shot at the title.
Oh, mate, she was like. I went to Richmond.
What's her name?
Oh, okay, Suzanne.
Suzanne what?
Suzanne. No. It's just, so anyway,
Casey's listening.
Yeah. I went to Richmond Park one day, go horse riding with this mate of mine. I can't ride a horse, but fuck it. He said, you want to go horse riding? I said, yeah, all right. So I went to Richmond Park, and this girl was there. Oh, mate, I was just like, Anyway, I said to my mate, I said, oh, God, she's gorgeous, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, he said to this group of people, oh, let's all go out for dinner one night. And I sat beside this girl, and I just thought, mate, in for a penny, in for a pound. I'm not leaving it tonight. I'm not leaving this restaurant tonight without her knowing. Yeah. I said, listen, I think you're absolutely. I said, you're one of the most stunning girls I've ever met in my life. She went sort of all blush or whatever. I said, would you like to go out for dinner one time? And I just, she said, yeah, fine. Anyway, we started getting. She was a sub-editor at Harper's and Queen.
Oh yeah.
Fucking the rough rocky boy. Playing for Harlequins.
Yeah.
Mate, he's got the Harpers and Queen on the arm, and mate, I was playing for Quins, and I was at RP Martins, and I was on 25 grand after a second year, and I had a couple of clients, and they were doing really well, paying me a lot of brokerage. And I said to my boss, I got tapped by another company. Yeah. I said to my boss, this other company's after me, and my boss's moniker was Rottweiler Ron. Yeah. Rottweiler Ron. And he was fucking crazy. But he was a hard man from the East End. And he said, who the fuck? What company? I said, Ron, it doesn't matter. He said, fucking tell me. He said, I'll fucking kill him. No one takes my fucking staff. And I was going, Jesus Christ, I just want to come to work. So he goes, right, how much you want? I said, I'm on 25 grand. He said, right, well, you're now on 50. Like that. Yeah. And I said, you can just double my salary. He said, yeah, but you got to fucking tell me what the company is. And I lied. I told some other company.
Yeah, just in case.
Just in case. A year after that, I got £50,000 in bonuses. Right? So in 1993, I'm on £100,000 a year.
Happy days,
I'm
mate.
in the first team at Harlequins.
Yeah.
I was living in, I don't know if you know, but in the Barbican, there's 3 tall buildings.
Yes.
There's 2.
Yeah.
Lauderdale Tower is definitely one of them. I lived on the 27th floor, and the building is cut in half. So me and a guy called Tim Phelan, Bush Pig was his name. Mate, Bushy's from Australia. Mate, it's the hairiest man I've ever met in my life. He had the fucking welcome mat on his front and on his back. Mate, seriously, so Bush Pig. We were living, and we looked over half of London. And I remember there one night, I was looking over London, and it was absolutely beautiful. And Suzanne was there beside me, and I was looking at it, and mate, I would not have called the Queen my auntie. Mate, I was on fire. And that was when life was great. You know what it was like in the 90s?
Yeah, mate.
Mate, there was Blur, there was Oasis, there was Cool Britannia, mate.
The whole club scene was coming onto the circuit.
The club scene was going crazy,
amazing.
made plenty of cash.
Yeah.
It was absolutely
Euro 96.
brilliant. Yeah.
Everything was, yeah.
It was brilliant.
Yeah,
it was brilliant. So I started, and then I was at RPs for 4 years, and then a Jewish guy that I worked with, really good bloke, said to me, mate, like you're a lawyer. You were a lawyer and you went to Oxford University. You should come banking. And I was 30 at the time, and I said, mate, it's really hard to get into, in case you didn't know. Yeah. So anyway, a job came up at CitiBank. CitiBank was at the Strand in those days. And
just for the listener, tell the size of CitiBank. It's one of the biggest banks in the world.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, back then I think they had 300,000 employees worldwide. And we were for, I think all through the 90s, we were voted the #1 bank in the world. So, mate, I was playing for Man United, and it felt like it when I got there. So I went and
the old Man United.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, good point, well made. Good point, well made. The Fergie's Man United. So they said there was this job there, right? And I applied for it, and I went and had an interview, right? Anyway, I had 6 interviews, and I didn't get the job, but I was told I got down to the final 2. And I thought, fuck, because what it is, Dodge, is like with broking, largely there's sort of a limit of how much you can earn. You get a basic, and you can do a ton of brokerage, but there's you can earn
sort of ceiling.
Yeah,
roughly.
ceiling.
A good ceiling.
But mate, 200, 300, 400, 500, £1 million maybe for the best. Like you'd have to be one of the best brokers in the world, sort of thing, right? But with banking, as I alluded to with that story I told you before, if you get the market right and you make, mate, I had a guy on my desk, he'd regularly make over $100 million.
For the bank?
For the bank.
And how much would he get, roughly?
Oh, he'd probably get about 6-7% of that. So if you're taking home 5, 6, 7 million.
Bonus?
Yeah, bonus. Yeah.
That's serious wages.
Crazy
numbers.
Crazy numbers. Yeah. And you know that guy, Lloydie, he's a fucking great guy.
Yeah.
Liverpool supporter. He actually, man, I'm jumping all over the shop here, but I saw him not long ago, a year or 2 ago, and we were at a dinner with a few people, and he said to me, I can't thank you enough. And I was like, why would you say that? He said, you gave me the job, didn't you? I said, mate, I didn't give you the job. I said, I recommended you for the job. Yeah. And I took him to lunch, and he worked for Halifax, and he would have been on 2/5 of fuck all in Halifax, with all due respect. And he came from Cheshire, unbelievable Liverpool supporter, loves a punt, loves a beer, but a fucking really good bloke, top bloke. And I took him to all bar one at Canary Wharf. We sat there for an hour, had a couple of beers, went back, and I said to my boss, I said, I think this is our guy. And you never know, Dodge, do you? How many people have you employed in your life?
Hundreds.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, mate.
Anyway, he went on to make millions and millions and millions of dollars for himself, for the bank, and then for himself. And he said, mate, I wouldn't have any of this if I hadn't got that job. I said, mate, listen, just back up here. I took a punt. Yeah. I said, and thank God for you. It worked out well. I said, mate, I'm happy for you because you're a fucking top bloke. Getting back to the CitiBank story, had 6 interviews, didn't get it. 2 months later, Frankie, nicknamed Frankie, who was running the desk, called me back and said, mate, you went very close last time when you come back for another interview. I said, yeah. I was excited because I'm thinking, if I get this banking job,
proper dollar.
Fucking who knows? Who knows, mate? Yeah. So I go back there and anyway, I have another fucking 6 interviews right over about a 6 weeks period. Anyway, on 12th interview, what I'd noticed was that the interviewer would say, right at the last question, he'd go, mate, have you got any questions for me? And sometimes I'd ask a question, sometimes I didn't. Anyway, this day I thought, you know what? I'm fucking all in here.
Yeah.
All right, this is me. I'm going fucking all in on this question. All right. So it's either piss or get off the pot. You know what I mean? So I said to the interviewer, I said, yeah, just one question. And I think it was a lady. She said, oh, what's the question? And I said, is the cleaner anywhere near this room? And mate, CitiBank used to be on the Strand in those days before they went to Canary Wharf. So I'm in this glass office Thursday afternoon at like 4:00. And she says, is a cleaner anywhere in this room? I said, yeah, it's a cleaner anywhere near this room right now. And she said, no, mate, no. The cleaners come in at night. Why would you ask that question? I said, because with all due respect, I've been interviewed by absolutely everybody else.
Yeah, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah. And she looked at me and I said, seriously, I don't know why I chose
give me an answer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it, mate. And I said, look, I don't know how. I said, I'll put it in layman's terms. Again, I'm referencing Manchester United in the glory years. I said, you're Manchester United. I'm Crew Alexander. I said, I just want a game. I said, just either tell me yes or no. Mate, next week, job offer.
Quality.
And I was at the bank for 18 years.
Wow. And what year did you start CitiBank?
1995.
And roughly how old have you been then?
31.
Okay.
So I was 30. Coming up, I was just short of my 31st birthday. And I had 18 years there. And, mate, like some of the stories, like I went all around the world. I worked in Tokyo for a bit. I worked in the States for a bit. I keep referencing the fact, mate, I'm a Queensland country kid.
Yeah.
What great experiences.
Boy, done good.
Mate, working for an enormous company, an amazing company.
Did you feel out your depth at all?
Mate, 9 months into CitiBank, I went to the doctor. I dropped a stone.
Yeah.
I went to the doctor. I had these welts under my eyes, and I was assistant first team coach at Quins.
Yeah.
And the game was just 90. So we're talking 95 games going professional. I was assistant first team coach there. We're still training Tuesday and Thursday nights up and down the country on Saturday, and I'm working at CitiBank. I went and saw this doctor, and I dropped a stone, had these red welts under my eyes, and he said, mate, you're under enormous amount of stress. And Dodge, I was at CitiBank, and I had this feeling that I am about to fail at something, and I don't know failure very well at all.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know, law degree, Oxford, studying, girls, never a problem. You know, like popular, anything I sort of good cricketer, decent cricketer, good swimmer, good runner, rugby league, rugby union, football, tennis. You know, get the law degree, go to Oxford, and I'm thinking, fuck, is this what failure looks like?
Yeah.
You know, and I was fucking not feeling very well. And
What was that emotion?
Probably fear.
Yeah.
You know, fear of failure.
Fear of failure.
You know, like it's like that. You know, I think if you are of a certain type, I get a feeling you are. Like we have you know, I'm a counsellor these days, and we have a winning script. We have a winning script. Yeah. And that script, that life script, we've got to pretty much play to our winning script. That's when we are fulfilled. That's when we flourish. Yeah. That's when we grow. Right? But what happens is if you are playing that script on a regular basis and are winning, the issue that may arise is when that winning script does not play out, I don't have very much reference to failure in my life. Yeah. So I flounder. And hence when I got the coke addiction, I was failing big time, and I was letting myself down. I'd let my mum and dad down, who put me through private school and done everything they could for me. And so, you know, when I was at CitiBank 9 months in, I thought, fuck me. I think I'm about to stare failure right in the face. And then my boss called me in not long after that, and he said, oh, look, just to give you a bit of feedback, mate, everyone's very positive on you. You turn up on time, you're working hard, you're covering the guys on their books and whatever. And then he just said, because what I couldn't work out, I thought, how the fuck are these guys making money? Yeah. What can they see that I can't see? And I thought, fuck, I've got to, you know, winning mentality, I've got to work this out. Yeah. Winning script, how the fuck do I work this out? I can't work it out. And I'm frustrated, I'm getting angry with myself. And come on, mate, you're the fucking guy who gets shit done. Yeah. What the fuck's going on here? Anyway, my boss called me in and he just said, oh, if you're sitting there wondering, you can't work it out, he said, don't worry. One day it'll just all become clear. And it was true.
Yeah.
After being there just over a year or something, I thought, okay.
There we go.
Now I'm starting to see some stuff I didn't see before.
Yeah, okay.
It was brilliant.
That's
good.
Amazing. When, in that period of that CitiBank, of that 19 years or 18 years there, when did you have your first line of cocaine?
My first line of cocaine was probably in the first couple of years at CitiBank. Okay. Right. So my first line of cocaine was, ironically, good mate of mine, Jace, still good mates today. He actually apologised to me.
For introducing to it.
Yeah. And I said, mate, mate, I'm a risker. I tried weed. I tried some pills. Yeah. I never did crack or heroin or anything like that, but I was always going to try coke. Mate, I'm of that nature. You want to go water skiing? Fuck it, yeah. You ever been on water skis? No,
let's give it a go.
Go snow skiing. You been on snow skis, mate? No, fucking righto, let's go down a hill. Mate, we're going here, we're going to watch Ricky Hatton.
I'm in. I'm in.
We're going to watch Hatton.
Before they even say what it is, I'm in. Let's go. Flying where? Ibiza, Vegas,
Vegas, numerous times. Anyway, so Jason said, I was an assistant coach. I think it was my last year at Quins, and he turned up, watched the game, and then we were in the bar afterwards. And he said, "Mate, you want a line of coke?" I said, "Mate, I've never had coke." And he said, "Well, do you want a line?" And I said, and I still remember it. I said, "Mate, fucking ironically, right? How's this? Talking about some intuition that something's going to come down the pipeline in time." I said to him, "Mate, can you get addicted to cocaine?" He said, "No, mate, you'll be right." Well, he was 50% right. He didn't. He didn't. I did. So the answer to your question, slow burner. Yeah. 10 years, mate, weekends, sometimes go a few months without it.
So it started off as fun.
Fun.
What was the feeling like when you started using cocaine at the start? It was all like fun, parties, long lunches, taking boys out, doing deals. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we'd go out. So back then, as you said, in the
Thursday
90s,
was the Wednesday and Thursday were the big nights, weren't they?
Thursday nights, especially when I stopped playing.
China White Wednesday, something Thursday.
Mate. There was all the mate. I wasn't a big nightclub guy, mate. I was restaurants, mate. We'd go to the best restaurant, whatever the best restaurants were at the time, and crazy shit happened. Like, we were out one night. There's this restaurant called The Square, right?
Whereabouts?
Right near the Ritz.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know the road that runs beside the Ritz, Piccadilly Circus and all that shit, right? And we're there. Mate, we'd end up at Ronnie Scott's and we're fucking, mate, there would be just like loads of drink. And the coke didn't come on the scene till later with me. And funny enough, when the coke came on the scene, mate, I isolated. Okay. I didn't use with other people, very rarely, because I was ashamed. I didn't want to, I had a profile, mate. Kent Bray, KB, Harlequins. Oxford, mate. I had to protect that. I had to protect that at all. Anyway, we're at the Square and this guy called Levy. We're still mates today. He's fucking mad. It's mad as a cut snake. But anyway, we're at the Square. There's like 10 guys. And it is like, whatever you want to eat, whatever you want to drink. It's one of those Thursdays.
And you're picking up every time, picking up the bill every time.
No, I'm the bank. So I'm the client.
Yeah, okay.
The broker.
Okay.
So they go, KB, where do you want to go Thursday night? And I go, what's hot? What's the best restaurants at the moment, Oh, mate, we're there and here and there. And there was the Conran restaurants were big at the time. And then there was, that one on New Kings Road, Bluebird. I went in there for lunch one day with
I used to
the
enjoy
client.
Bluebird.
Yeah, went in there for lunch one day, right? 1,250 quid, two people.
Bloody hell. Two people?
Two people, right? So you're going to go, how do you do 1,250 quid, right? Well, obviously you have lobster and everything, all that shit, right? Because, of course, I love lobster. I mean, I fucking haven't got a clue, right? Yeah, lobster will do, whatever. Anyway, the guy I was with, I said to him, he said, I'd like a bottle of sticky. I didn't know what that meant. Yeah. I said, well, what's that? He said, dessert wine. I said, what? You have fucking wine with, no, mate, I'm from country kid, right? I said, what, you have dessert with, you have wine with dessert, special wine? Mm-hmm. He said, yeah. Mate, I knew I was in trouble when the waiter brought out, dessert wines in fucking small bottles, right? Mate, he brought it out with white gloves. And I thought, fuck, he's either a magician and he's going to make this bottle disappear.
I was going to pull my pants down for a price.
Fucking very, very expensive wine. 250 quid.
Oh, dear.
And listen, I wasn't that guy.
Yeah.
I wasn't that guy. There's guys that would take the piss with wine and champagne, mate. I wasn't that guy. But this day, and then, mate, we were like, champagne, dessert wine. And I think 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, they said, you can become lifetime members of the Bluebird. This would be 90, this would be 30 something years ago.
Yeah.
He said, you can be life members of Bluebird for 250 quid. I said, yeah, fuck it, 2 of those, one for him, one for me. So I've woken up next morning, I've got to go to my boss, and I was still early days. I was only about the second year at CitiBank, and I've gone, oh my God, fuck. I'm in a lot of trouble here, a lot of trouble. I didn't really understand the largesse at that stage of the city. And I thought, I can't, what am I going to do? And I was sweating out, and I'm on the train, I'm still half pissed. No drugs at that stage.
Yeah.
And I said to Frankie, my boss, I said, mate, you got a sec? He said, yeah. So we go in the room and said, mate, fucking things went a little bit crazy yesterday. And he said, how much crazy? I said, 1,250 quid crazy. He said, how many people? I said, 2. Yeah. He said, all right, just put down, 3 or 4 other guys on the desk and make some fucking names up or something, and we're all good to go. But
that's what happened back in the day.
Oh,
bang, bang. What, long lunches, 2 grand, 1 grand, 3 grand, bang, put it on the thing. That's all stopped now in the city, isn't it?
Yeah, it has.
They've really tightened up everything on that.
Yeah, well, political correctness, compliance and all that sort of stuff. And a lot of that stuff I agree with. But when it was good, it was good. I mean, I can't even tell you, the World Cup was in Germany some year, I don't know when. Yeah. And Australia were playing, and I was at CitiBank. And they said, mate, one of my blokes said, do you want to go? And I said, yeah, mate, flights, accommodation, restaurants, booked these restaurants. World Cup was in France, 2007, private plane, hotels, best nightclubs and restaurants and whatever in France. Mate, Hatton.
I went to that one.
2007.
Yeah, World Cup final.
Yeah.
England and South Africa.
Yeah, England, South Africa.
My pal was playing it, yeah.
Who was that?
Lewis Moody was.
Yeah, you know him?
Yeah, good mate of mine.
Yeah.
One of my shoes.
Good player.
Great player. Not just a great player, he's one of the best human beings you'll ever meet in your life.
Yeah. I see his stuff on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I watch his stuff on LinkedIn.
Yeah, he's good, man.
Mate, I'll tell you what, he was tough.
Tough. He had no care for his own body.
No,
he was a madman on the pitch, but off the pitch, a proper gentleman.
Yeah.
Proper family man.
Yeah, but a lot of those guys are.
Yeah.
A lot of the English guys are. I'll tell you what, when I was watching that, I saw that documentary on the 2003,
that's right.
Mate, it was a hard watch.
It was a hard watch, wasn't it? To see them all.
Yeah, see a few of them struggling. And the other thing about it was, mate, I played against and with some of those guys. Yeah. So Lawrence Delaglio, another story. Lawrence came on the scene. He was playing the second team at Wasps. And
late 90s.
Yeah. It'd be mid-90s. Mid-90s, okay. Must have been about 95.
Yeah.
I reckon it'd be 94, 95, something like that. And Lawrence had just come on the scene, but he was in the second team at Wasps because Dean Ryan, the first team captain, said, Rhino was Dean.
Big number 8.
Dean was tough.
Jesus
tough.
Christ,
but they had a tough back row. They had Mark Rigby, Buster White, and
Buster White. I forgot about Buster. He worked up in the city, didn't he? Wasn't he up in the city?
No. Good bloke, Buster.
Yeah,
actually, they all are. Yeah. Riggers a good bloke.
Yeah.
Anyway, Riggers took the piss out of me one day. I said, "Oh fucking hell, Riggers! Wince had Peter Winterbottom had your number back in the day." And he said, "Oh, fucking KB, you'd be like, Wince, come on, go do my tackling, Wince, hurry up." And I'd be like, "Fuck off, Riggers." But Lawrence was in the second team at Wasps, and Dean Ryan was holding him back and said he had to earn his position. Yeah. Anyway, Lawrence and I got selected to play for Middlesex in the old county championship. Remember that?
They were great days, the county final. And, mate.
So we played out at, I think we played at Esher, or we might have played at Quinns. Anyway, we've ended up in the Sun in Richmond.
Yeah, another great boozer.
Yeah. One of Jason Leonard's
favourites.
Jason and I'd get there a bit. Anyway, Wince was there. Peter Winterbottom was there. And we were in the first team at Quinns. And I said to Wince, see that bloke over there, that fucking tall, he's gangly. Not like he ended up being like a, like a beast, iconic, England rugby player.
I was with Low on Friday, just gone.
Sorry?
I was with Low down here
Yeah,
on Friday.
were you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went out. We did a thing at Rick Stein's.
Yeah, right.
He was funny, man.
Oh, mate, yes.
Mate, he's got
great
some
character.
story. Great character.
Great character. Anyway, I said to Wins, I said, that's that bloke, Lawrence Delaglio, that they're all talking about over at Wharf. And I said to Peter Winterbottom, I said, mate, as long as my ass points to the ground, that bloke will get 50-plus caps for England.
Yeah.
And he said, is that good? I said, mate, he hasn't got a clue how good he is.
Yeah.
I said, he is as raw as fuck. So Wentz said, get him over. We'll have a chat to him, all right? So I said, oh, fucking go on over. I said, so I was with Suzanne, that good-looking girl, and I said, Suzanne, do me a favour. See that bloke over there? She said, he's young. I said, yeah, just go over and just tell him that KB wants to talk to him. She said, go. So anyway, it's quite funny. She goes over and like taps him, and he's like, you know, because she was very attractive.
Yeah.
And she's gone like, obviously, are you Lawrence Delaglio? And he's like, yeah. And said, oh, Kent wants to have a word with you, whatever. She comes over and I said, oh, Lawrence, you know, Wentz, Lawrence. And Lawrence said, mate, I know who you are. He said, you know, a lot of respect for you, sort of thing. And Wentz said, oh, you know, KB rates you and says, you know, and says you can play, sort of thing. And he said, Wentz said to him, mate, you know, would you consider coming across to Quinn's? And mate, back there was some fucking backhanders with money and jobs and cars and shit. Yeah. And he, mate, his reply, which is in his book, this story I'm telling you is in his book from years ago. And he said, Peter, you know, I've got a ton of respect for you. He fucking didn't mention me, by the way, but he did say, he said, Peter, I've got a ton of respect for you. He said, but mate, I could never, ever, ever play for Harlequins. Yeah. He said, I'm a waspie through and through.
And he stuck with it.
18 years,
Unbelievable.
Mate. 18 years. And that was, and that's the measure of Lawrence. Yeah. You know. Loyal.
Yeah, mate.
And you know, like that England jersey means everything to him. Yeah. And those guys that play British Lions, mate, I played against the British Lions once for New South Wales, but years ago, 1989.
It's a special bond, isn't it?
That is unbelievable. Yeah. That you know, because you think about it. I remember chatting to Mike Teague.
Great player, yeah.
So I played against Teague in 1989. He didn't play the first test, and he played the second, third test, and got voted player's player.
That's special,
mate.
That's the one. Imagine that. I know.
You play for England, or Wales, or Ireland, Scotland, whatever.
Come together.
Then you get, not only do you play for your country, then you get selected by the British Lions. Then you go on a tour once every 4 years. So you've got to get that right. Yeah. Your timing's got to be okay, that. And then, after a 3-test series, you get voted player's player.
That's the creme de la creme, right?
Pinnacle.
I want to roll back 2011.
Yep.
Gary Stevenson, written his book, he's everywhere at the moment.
Yeah.
Said he was the biggest earner for CitiBank in 2011. Is that true?
No, it's not true, mate. It's not true. So Gary, the thing about Gary was potential. So you've asked me some really interesting stuff on numbers. I'm going to give you the truth. I'm going to give you some numbers, right? So this is Gary Stevenson's 6 years at CitiBank. I saw this the other day. He said himself, first year, 36 grand, 36,000 pounds. You know, junior trader.
That's what his salary was?
Yes, salary.
Okay.
No bonus.
Okay.
So 6 years, year one, 36 grand. Yeah. You're probably, second year, probably 50 grand. Basic. That's before tax. So we got 36, we got 50. Year 3, in the book, he says he got paid about 400,000 US, right? Total comp. Right, so that's year 3.
So what's that, 300 sterling roughly?
Yeah, and half that goes on tax.
Yeah, okay. So $150. Okay.
So he's pocketed 150.
Yeah.
That's year 3. Year 4 is the standout year, which he keeps referring to. He made $24 million and he got paid $2 million. He got made $24 million for the bank and he got paid $2.5 million. Dollars.
Yeah, okay.
Right? And that would be right.
Yeah.
It might have been 2. He might have overcooked it by, you know, $500,000 or something possibly. But if he's made 24, he's in for 8 to 10%.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So let's say he's right, $2.5 million. That's year 4. Year 5 and year 6, he's in dispute with the bank because the way it works like this, Dodge. You know, I told you I got $1 million bonus.
Yes.
So the $1 million you take off your basic.
Yeah.
So it's £50,000. Just say that's 100,000
Yeah,
US.
for easy. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
so now we're down to 900.
Yeah.
Of that 900, they take a quarter of that away and they invest that in stock, in CitiBank stock. And you get that back, 1/3 of that, in the next 3 years.
Okay.
And the reason they do that, it's golden
Lock you
handcuffs.
in.
Correct.
Lock
Well
you
done.
in. Yeah, yeah.
Good stuff, Dodge. Well done. So he wanted to leave because he was physically and mentally struggling. And he wanted to get out. He said, I want my money. They said, no, mate, you fucking signed a contract.
Yeah.
Like, this is the way it works all around the world. And not just a Citibank. Every major trading bank does this because if some guy has a standout year like Gary did, they want to fucking keep him.
Absolutely.
So Gary gets into dispute with them. And mate, so we've got, skip back, £36,000 first year, £50,000 next year, $400,000 US total comp year 3, $2.5 million US dollars.
Yeah.
Mate, I reckon years 5 and 6, 75 basic, no bonus.
Because he's in dispute.
He's in dispute. Right? They shipped him out to Tokyo. Mate, I loved Gary, and to a point, I still do today, because, mate, I loved his story.
Yeah.
Fucking ill football. Fucking oath,
well.
mate.
Yeah.
Mate, he's my type of guy.
Yeah, same.
You know? It's like you feel it, don't you,
relate.
Dodge?
Yeah, absolutely.
You feel it.
Absolutely.
And when someone does something like that, it's almost like,
good on you.
yeah. but it's almost like you can feel it yourself.
Yeah.
You can go, mate, when he was on the desk beside me and I was mentoring, not in an official capacity, I said, mate, you get this right, Gary. I'm telling you, your fucking world is going to change beyond all recognition. I said, mate, you're a smart kid. Keep your fucking head down and you'll do it right. And he did.
Yeah.
Then he started to unravel, and then he said, right, I want out. And they said, no, you can't get out. And because there had been a previous guy who'd got out and they'd given him his money, he kept referring to him and said, it happened for this other guy. And they said, yeah, that was different circumstances. Then I've got Gary sitting at the end of the desk, fucking headphones on, a hoodie, right, and down tools. So, mate, you think £100,000 a week footballer who goes, I don't want to play for the club anymore.
Yeah.
And all the boys are going,
what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Mate, what the fuck are you? Come on, we're all in this together. No, fuck you, you know. And I just said, all right, and I had words with him. I said, mate, what the fuck are you doing? Why am I like this, Dodge? Mate, because I played rugby.
Yeah.
We dig in.
Yeah.
You know,
Team.
we team.
Yeah, mate.
And so, I chuffed off to after that year of doing all the fucking trading and making $1 billion, and then fucking don't know if it's New York or New Year, and fucking don't know if it's chicken shit or chicken salad. But like fucking I made all this money, and fuck, they gave me $2 million, and Jesus Christ, don't know where I'm at. So I thought it'd be a good idea to leave the bank, and funny enough, so did they.
Yeah.
And they gave me voluntary redundancy. I left, and within 2 years, I was in rehab. And Gary, they gave him his money in the end.
They did they?
They did.
Okay.
Yeah,
why? Because he was kicking off.
No, because I think in the end, they looked at it and went, you know what? He's got mental health, which he did, and that's in his book.
Did you notice his mental health deteriorate?
No, I just knew that he was very angry.
Okay.
Really angry.
And he was angry because he wanted to take the money and do one and go, I'm done now. I've earned enough to probably set me up for life.
He changed a lot, mate. From when he first came in, he was like this kid from East End, and he was like bright-eyed and, you know, wow, this is all going on. And I just said, mate, don't get overawed with this. Like, you've got the goods. You're a smart bloke. You're an economist. You're a smart kid. Plus, you're street smart.
Yep.
Come from East End, you know, like you know what it's like to.
It's a good combo.
Yeah, mate. Hunger.
Mate. Yeah.
Mate, you know, having nothing is a great motivator, right? And Gary had it, and I thought this kid could be anything, and he was for 1 year. And so I got about 3 years, 4 years clean and sober, and I thought my behaviour. There's a thing in the 12-step program. Step 9 is making amends.
Yes.
So you go to people and you sort of say, listen, apologise, but you know, I was fucking ill. I was sick. I was an addict. So I thought, you know, I gave the kid a bit of a hard time at the time.
Well, you gave him a hard time when you were working with him?
At the end.
At the end, because you were just like, mate, pull your finger out. What you do? Okay.
Like, mate.
Okay. Come on.
Yeah, come on. We're a fucking team. Yeah. Participate. Mate, you're still on good basic. And those seats are lotteries.
Mm.
That bloke from Cheshire, he won, how many lotteries did he win?
Yeah.
He made $100 million, he got paid $6-7 million. Gary could have done that, but he chose not to, and that's fine. I've got no judgment. If it wasn't for him, that the industry's not for him, that's fine. So I've reached out to him about 4 years later, and I said to him, I was about 4 years clean sober.
So you weren't clean and sober in 2016,
yeah,
was it?
Yeah.
And about in 2020, you reached out back to Gary to say, mate, I've got some amends.
Yeah, I reached out to him. I said, mate, do you want to meet up for a burger? So I might be able. He said, yes, have beer. So look, I won't be having a beer, but I'll tell you all about that. So we sat down and we met in a pub on the river. And I said, mate, look, I was a bit nasty. I was a bit, a bit heavy-handed. Not heavy-handed, I didn't hit him or anything. I was a bit harsh with you at the end. I said, but mate, I wasn't well. I said, I was doing a lot of cocaine. He was like, you doing coke? I was like, fuck.
Only if people knew.
Mate, there's an understatement of a question. If ever, only 20 or 30 grams a week. Let me tell you the story that I fucking trading. No. Anyway, so, and he said, oh my God. And then he said, mate, I've just written a book. I'm just about to finish off a book. I said, oh, okay. He said, can I put it in the book? About you. He said, can you tell me more? And I gave him info.
Yeah.
This is what I was doing. And I said, but mate, I'm clean and sober today and I help people. And I hadn't done my counselling studies at that stage. And I said, but mate, I was, I explained to him why I was rude to him. I said, mate, my core is team.
Yeah.
Teamwork, And he said, can I put it in a book? I said, yeah, put it in a book. I said, we putting a name, you're putting everyone's names to it? He said, no, we're just going to have,
So he put you in a JB?
JB.
Instead of KB?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And he just changed a couple of things. He had me playing for London Irish instead of Harlequins or something like that. But, and mate, I've got no problems with that.
Yeah.
He was, mate, today, you asked me questions, I answered them truthfully and honestly. That's who I am today. Mate, I've got nothing to be ashamed of. I'm genuine, authentic, transparent, truthful, and honest.
I can see that.
And that's what I
can
was.
hear it.
Yeah, and that's what I was with Gary that day. I said, mate, and when the book came out, I read it. I didn't have any problems with the way he portrayed me. He portrayed me as a drug-addicted trader who was trading very, very poorly at the end, which was true. Yeah. So getting back to your question, he has said on numerous occasions, that he was CitiBank's most profitable trader in 2011, which is not true. And people say, well, who was? And you go, well, you'd never know. Yeah, but I'm telling you right now, $34 million, making $34 million for the bank, ain't cutting it.
Really?
No. Mate, you're not top 10.
Is that right?
No. Mate, because there's foreign exchange, there's equities, there's energy, there's oil, there's futures, there's options. And mate, somewhere someone is knocking the fucking lights out somewhere. So I did an article and I just said, in my opinion, I didn't have any facts. I said, in my opinion, he wasn't. And I put it on LinkedIn. I said, look, I did a book review. Yeah. And I was very fair. I told all this stuff. I said, Gary was a great kid, took him under my wing and he was very popular and very well supported on the desk. At the end, he and I fell out because of his attitude. And I said, but he's not. Anyway, FT phones me and said, they said, we might do an article about this, we might not. Will you answer the questions just like you are today? And I said, mate, I'll answer any question. You ask the question, I'll answer it truthfully. Yeah. That's it. That's how I roll. I said, okay, fine. Little did I know, they went and asked like 20 people or more. They asked a load of people. Most people said, couldn't be fucking bothered. Like the guy who made the $100 million, whatever, Lloydie, he said, well, no interest in answering any questions. Yeah. It's 100 years ago. Like Gary's doing his thing, and man, these guys are rich people. Yeah. They don't want to get involved in fucking social media and all that shit. Yeah. So anyway, there's a couple of guys in there, and one guy in particular was very, very high up. He put his name in the FT article, and he used to be party to the bonuses.
Okay. So he knew everything, facts.
He knew the numbers.
Okay.
And he said, never in a million years. Anyway, people say to me, does it matter? And I go, with his cause, Gary's cause, which is wealth inequality, it doesn't matter if he was the best at CitiBank or he wasn't the best. But to some people, provenance and truth matters and credibility matters. And I find it, now I put my counselling hat on, I find it really interesting why if you listen to him, he says I'm a multimillionaire, I'm rich, I'm a multimillionaire, I was number one trader at CitiBank. It's like on loop, right? And I think that is really, really, really important to him. Yeah. It has to be right. It's got to be right. That narrative has to be right, because I think it's 2 fingers to the private schools, 2 fingers to the privileged and the entitled. Like, fuck you guys.
Boy, done good.
I came from nothing and I went to a major bank and I was number one in the world, right? Yeah. Mate, if that's what he's about, if that's what it's he needs to do or something, but no, he wasn't. No.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you like what he stands for?
I think the message is right.
Yeah.
I think the message is right.
Well, I think inequality is huge. The rich are getting richer and the middle class are blending in with the poor, the way the world is at the moment. And I'm seeing it firsthand, everyone around me. Yeah. It's like, wow, you could be on 200 grand salary, you could have a wife, you could have a car on tick, you could have a couple of kids, and at the end of the month, you've got no money left. Correct.
Okay,
you've got no dough left. Like, wild.
I would. I mean, we're not going to call in any of your employees here.
Yeah.
But I noticed there's a lot of young people here
Gen
working
Zs,
for you, right? Gen Zs, right? I would ask them, like, what chance do you think, if they don't have family assistance,
get on the ladder.
What chance do you think you've got of getting on the property ladder anytime soon?
Very little.
Mate, because how old are you?
In my 40s.
Yeah. You look a lot younger, mate.
Thank you, mate. It's all that cream I put on, mate. All the cream.
I want to get that fucking podcast out early. Mate, so, but what I'm saying is, you would have had properties early in your life.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly.
Well, the first thing you do, I was in the nightclub. Well, the first thing, you get all the cash in, boom, bought my first place in Brixton.
There you go.
Bang, done, I'm on the ladder.
There you go.
And
once you're on the ladder, mate.
Once you're on the ladder, you can't come off.
That's it.
Well, it's very hard to
and
come
add
off.
to it and whatever.
Yeah.
Mate, I'll tell you a quick story.
Yeah.
So I'm at CitiBank. No, I was still at RP Martin's, and I told you there was one year that, 93, 94, I got paid £100,000 total comp, right? I bought a 3-bedroom apartment that had just been done up. I think I bought it in 1994 in Parsons Green, 150 grand.
Yeah, amazing.
Now, the chances of
amazing.
Today,
amazing.
That apartment's now worth over $1 million.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. I mean, I sold it.
More than that.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I sold it a long time ago and put it elsewhere. But what I'm saying is, Gary's right in the sense of, okay, we get capitalism. Okay, so Dodge Woodall and Kent Bray go out, work hard.
Earn a pound note.
And a pound note.
Yeah.
And invest.
Yes.
Buy properties, right? Yeah. So we accumulate a degree of wealth.
Yes.
Right? Now, just by compound interest, just by stocks, I've got pension schemes, superannuation schemes, stocks and shares and whatever, and a couple of properties, right? It's a lot less than I used to because of divorce and fucking everything, blah, blah, blah. So, but what I'm saying is that compound interest, the people down here that are in a low socioeconomic, this is all I'm describing here is capitalism.
Yes.
People who work hard, come up with an idea that the world wants, and I'm not talking about
take risk,
work hard, right? Yeah. They earn wealth, right? Over years, that wealth just keeps going.
Yeah.
Down here, these people, so the wealth equality is always going to get worse, right? I don't blame the rich. If there's a fault here, it's the system. Right? Now, the system is run by the government.
Yeah.
So even if you did, I think, mate, the ones I'd go for, Amazon and Google.
They pay sweet FA.
Correct.
They're putting it through Ireland. Go for them.
Yeah. Yeah, they've got an office in Luxembourg or something. Go for them. And if you get the super wealthy, go for them, right? An extra percent, as Gary says, extra percent, whatever, right?
Claw that back.
Problem. You've got a government that can't fucking fix the potholes in the road.
Yeah.
And you're going to ask them to fix the tax system, have some balls, grow some muscles, go to the gym and get some fucking, muscles and get some teeth and go after the super wealthy in these companies, right? No chance, right? And even if they taxed those companies and got that money, this money, this extra money goes into the government and they just fucking
they piss it up the wall. I know, exactly. I agree.
So in answer to your question, I think Gary's right. I don't like his manner.
No.
I saw him with Daniel Priestley and
Stephen
Bartlett, right? And even on Question Time, he saw this thing and he said to the audience, everyone got money during COVID. Are you any richer? And they went, no. And he pointed to the panel and said, all these people are a lot richer.
Yeah.
And I thought, mate, you don't even fucking know those people. Those people come on that panel, they're politicians, they're whatever. I think he's condescending, demeaning, rude, arrogant at times, right? But, and this is where I'm conflicted about Gary, I think his cause is absolutely right.
Yeah. Is it just the way he portrays it? Doesn't put it across in the way that you would put it across?
No, correct. Yeah, and okay. I said, one of my LinkedIn articles, I said, Gary would do really well just to get someone to mentor and coach him. Because you know what it's like, Dodge? You can have an idea and you can have a dream and you can have a manifestation, right? But the other side of that dream manifestation is you're going to have to negotiate with someone at some stage. But with you in your companies and your businesses, whatever you do, right, you're going to have to negotiate and release some of this. You're going to have to negotiate
every
with
day.
You're
negotiating.
Correct.
Every day.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now you can go in, and sometimes you've got to stand your ground and go, no, fuck, mate, no, this is not working for us. Like, see you later. But you've got to have an ability to play what I call conversational tennis.
Yep.
Like, and you just get back and forth, back and forth, without me talking over the top of you.
Well, there's a superpower there, which people don't talk about, and that superpower is the power of listening.
Yeah.
And majority of the people don't like to listen.
That's right.
People are just thinking what they can say next.
Yeah.
If you listen to people out there who listen, they're really powerful people. And the power of pause.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? It's powerful, but people don't know about this because you're not taught about this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what he's doing, Gary Stevenson, he's saying kind of the right stuff, but not saying it in the right way.
Yeah.
That's how I portray it. And I like him. He's a boy done good from East London.
100%.
Respect, But it's really nice to hear your side of the story of you were there living, working with him day in, day out, and this is how he was, you know?
See, some people think, I've written some stuff and they go, oh, this guy's fucking jealous. He's running Gary down. I'm answering questions, right? And I will say categorically, he is the wealth inequality going to get worse? As Gary says, fucking oath.
100%. And it's happening very quickly right now.
That's it. And there's young kids out there that are going to leave school, leave universities with
50 grand in debt.
50 grand in debt.
Can't get on the ladder.
Can't jobs, you know.
There's no jobs about.
It's going to be.
But the thing is, the government don't talk about there's no jobs. But I'm in the world of speaking to loads and loads of people in all the sectors. I'm constantly asking questions, curious. Mate, the amount of people losing their jobs left, right and centre right now. No one's talking about it.
Well, the other thing as well is you and your crew, the Gen Zs, you know, the young crew, mate, they'll have a better understanding of AI. Mate, I'm 60 years old. Like I get my technology stuff done you know, in my business. I do one-on-one counselling online. But, you know, the big question is exactly how many jobs are going to disappear with AI and how many jobs is it going to create for the 20-year-olds?
Agree.
And that's worrying.
Yeah.
That's worrying, right? Because
for who?
Well, for the 20-year-olds.
Yeah, okay.
Like in the sense of, I can see one thing Gary says, which I totally and utterly disagree with. He says to the youngsters, "You're fucked."
Yeah.
He goes, "You got no chance. Like if your father's not going to give you £200,000 to buy a house, right? There's a deposit. You're fucked. You'll never get on it, right? That's a horrible message." Mate, you come from, you know, humble beginnings, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Mate, I came from humble beginnings. When he was on with Stephen Bartlett and Daniel Priestley, they come from humble beginnings. Gary comes from humble beginnings. It can be done. So there's some 20-year-olds out there who are going to be multi-millionaires because they're going to find their way into the AI world.
And they don't have to build a big team around them.
No.
Even better.
Start up quickly, and they're going to find their way.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a load of people that the sort of mainstream jobs that we've seen down the years that disappear, they're going to struggle a bit.
Lawyers disappear.
Yeah.
Accountants are going to disappear.
Yeah.
State agencies going to disappear. Like there's so much going to disappear, and I'm seeing things disappearing very quickly right now.
Yeah.
You know, like this what's going on with AI right now is unreal, and it's happening so quickly. You know, you think back in the day there'd be like 100 farmers ploughing a field, and then they'd bring over a machine, and that one machine would do the 100. That is what's happening now, but times a million quicker.
Mate, it's it's unreal. What I would like to just discuss quickly,
mate,
right, is what I'm doing today.
Absolutely, I was just about to ask you. Like, you know, you've certainly lived an eventful life. And I've really, really enjoyed this, man. I know,
Mate, that's the fucking name of your podcast.
I know, mate. It's quality, isn't it? It's perfect. It's
it.
like the perfect combo. I've got one question before we move into what you're doing now. Have you ever been caught doing cocaine somewhere where you thought, oh shit?
That's a good question. Nothing comes to mind.
No.
Nothing comes to mind. I'll tell you, just 2015 Rugby World Cup.
Yep.
It's in England.
Yep.
And some really good, this mate of mine, he's heard this story a fucking 1,000 times, but he can hear it again. Guy called Troy Coker, you know, and mate, anyway, sometimes it just gets me a bit, this story. So anyway, 2000, he won a World Cup, 1991. He played for the Wallabies.
Yep.
And he's a big dude, 6'6", 18, 19 stone, whatever, right? And I've known him since I was 19. And he and I, we won a grand final at Western Brisbane. We played for Queensland. We played for Harlequins. We played for Oxford. Holidayed a lot together. Sevens, the old sevens and tens tournaments.
Amazing.
Circuit.
Everywhere.
Oh,
they're the best. We could do a whole podcast about the sevens.
Mate, how good. I'm fucking going. Where am I this week?
Yeah.
Spain. Next week, Portugal, Kenya, Malaysia, Singapore, all paid.
You never
for.
done Bournemouth sevens though, did you?
No. Mate, I might fucking stretch up.
70% birds, by the way. 70% women. 30,000 people. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's all proper blokes.
So 2015 Rugby World Cup's on, and the guys come out from Australia. Now, you've got a timeline here. I go into rehab in 2016.
Yeah.
So 2015, mate, I'm not looking well.
Yeah.
They come across, there's a mate of mine from Australia, and they go, fuck, mate, you look bad. And I said, what are you doing? And they worked out I was doing coke. Anyway, mate, we're walking along South Kensington. Mate, I'm about 3-4 bags of coke in and, fucking champagne and beer and all that sort of shit. And I think it was a couple of days before the final. And Troy just put his arm around me. He said the day before he wanted to have an intervention. And I said, what about? What do you, like, he said, mate, what about? You're fucked. Yeah. You're going to die. Fucking hell, KB. Like, fucking wake up. I'm going, mate, just fucking back off. I've got this. Because that's what addicts say.
Of course, yeah.
So, mate, we're walking through South Ken and he puts his arm around me and he said, mate, please, mate, KB, you got to get help, mate. You got to get help. You got to get professional help. And I since learnt that they jumped on the plane. We went to where I'm going to with this. You asked the question, have I been caught? So we went to the World Cup final between Australia and New Zealand at Twickenham in November 2015. And I'm sitting in the crowd. I am absolutely fucking hanging for a line of cocaine. My body's craving it. It's what people don't understand. Yeah. It's not like I go, I'd like to go and have a fucking line of coke now. Yeah. My body's going, give me the fucking coke. And mate, I'm watching, Daniel Carter and Ma Nonu and fucking Richie McCaw and all these guys. We're watching the elite. Mate, I'm looking at it, but in my brain, I'm going, I need a fucking coke. I need this fucking coke, and I've got to go now. Anyway, mate, I went, and I fucking didn't get the timing right. And it's half time, and I'm in the toilet. In the cubicle, and they've got the toilet paper holders and they're round. There's no flat surfaces, obviously, because they don't want people doing coke, right? So I'm thinking, fuck, I've got to fucking, and I've got to chop up because it wasn't in powder. It was like little rocks. Mate, I used to,
go on.
I've never said this on a podcast before. It got so bad at one stage, mate, that my nose was so sore and so infected that I was putting little rocks up my ass.
Up your arse?
Straight into the bloodstream, because that goes straight to the bloodstream, mate. It was. I mean, that's where it took me. That's where my addiction took me. I couldn't. My nose was so infected, and so sore from doing so much coke that I couldn't do any more. Breathe. I'd eat it. I'd get a little rock and just crunch it up and eat it. Mate, I was completely and utterly insane.
30 grams a week.
20 to 30 a week. So anyway, I put my phone on to balance it, right? And I'm thinking, fuck, now I've got to fucking chop it up, and I'm fucking, mate, this is all to do a line of cocaine. This is the obsession, right? Mate, I've left my fucking phone there. I've gone, right, and walked out. I've got about 50 metres away, and I've gone back and, I found my phone, but I do remember that distinctly. And what I was thinking was, this is crazy. This is crazy, man. I could tell you 1,000 levels of crazy. Taking my kids to school, mate. 2 to 3 lines before I take my kids to school. Take them to fucking kindergarten. 4-year-old.
Mate.
Yeah, mate, just heartbreaking. Like when I look back, and I had to deal with that shit in recovery because that stuff will kill you.
Yeah.
That stuff will make you go back there today.
Yeah.
I had to tell my kids. They're 15 and 12, and last year I had to tell them because I put out a website and all this sort of stuff. Mate, I'm telling you right now, man, you know, when you're sitting at a table and you've got these two beautiful... Mate, I'm 9 years clean sober next month, right?
Yeah, amazing.
So a year ago...
Massive respect, by the way, mate.
Yeah, thanks,
Put it
man.
there.
Appreciate
9
that.
years,
Yeah,
mate.
top
Amazing.
man. Yeah, I
Amazing.
bet you know some people
I
that
know
have similar
lots.
journey.
I know lots,
Correct.
mate. I know lots.
So I fucking sitting there last year with my son and my daughter because this website went out and fucking all... I started doing podcasts.
Yeah.
I started going public with this shit. Anyway, mate, I just got them around the table and I said, listen, guys, look, you know that Daddy doesn't drink, you know. And I said, look, some stuff's going public and I need to explain something to you. And so I've got my son was 14, my daughter was 12. And my daughter sort of takes cues off my son. And he's very, very emotionally intelligent. He's a really, really emotionally intelligent boy. Anyway, mate, I'm sitting there and I'm going, look, I was addicted to a substance called cocaine. I think Joseph knows what cocaine is. And anyway, I said, look, I'm good now. I don't do any of that stuff, and I'm really good, clean, sober, and all that sort of stuff. And I help people today, and da da da. Anyway, mate, my son could see I was struggling a bit. I was starting to just teeter on tears a bit, mate. I love my children so much.
Yeah. And
we're not supposed to make ourselves vulnerable to a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. I'm not supposed to put spotlight on my own shortcomings, my own defects of character, my own, vulnerabilities and shortcomings. But I had to because it was going public. So I had to do it. Didn't want to do it, but I had to. And when my son was seeing I was struggling, and he just got up, mate, I think it's something, he came around and put his arm on my shoulder. He said, Dad, it's okay. You don't do that stuff anymore.
Amazing.
He said, Dad, we love you.
Amazing.
We love you, Dad. And saying, you're doing a really good thing today, Dad. You're doing a really good thing. Oh, mate, seriously. And my daughter, she was a bit, she didn't really understand. She's a bit young, but she was taking the cues from Joe, and she said, we love you, Dad. Mate, there's the journey.
Yeah.
There's the craziness from that trading year and 10 stone and crying my eyes out and then getting clean and sober. And then about 4 years ago, a guy who's a pretty good mate of mine, who's a therapist, he said, mate, you'd make a really good therapist. You could make a lot of difference
people's lives
in a certain section of the world. So get up into that city people, those rugby people, and not just about addiction and recovery. So, mate, I went and did a 2.5-year therapeutic counselling course, got my diploma, jumped on LinkedIn and Dodge. I don't have to tell you, if you're in your 40s, you'll understand that the world, sometimes you put a certain energy out in the world, but sometimes it comes back another way. So I thought I was going to help city guys and rugby guys who might be struggling with alcohol and addiction. Yeah. And, mate, next minute I'm getting phone calls from and emails from Switzerland, Switzerland, Hong Kong, Australia, America, professional men, mate, recruiter, guy worked with Netflix and another guy who's...
they can all relate.
Right, and they're professional people, normally married, normally got kids, something's going wrong. It might be something from the childhood, it might be something about imposter syndrome, it might be something about grief. And, mate, I don't think I've got... I might have one or two. If I've got 20, 25 clients going at the moment, mate, I think one or two of them have got addiction or alcohol problems. The rest are guys in their 30s and 40s, professional men who want to speak to someone who's not their father, not their boss, who's not going to judge them.
Amazing.
And, mate, what
a rewarding thing to do, Ken.
It is. There's a payoff in the sense that, mate, I've still got kids in private schools. I've got to finish that off. I'll get that done. So I've got, my challenge today is that I've got some assets. I've just got to manage it to get the private school education done. Yeah. This is what I want to do, but it's not very well paid. Yeah. But at 60 years old, I've decided, mate, you had your shot. You had your shot, you give back.
Yeah, amazing.
See, I went from the taking game, and now I'm in the giving game. And mate, it is so much.
You look like you're in a really good place, man. Do you know that? You look like in a really good place.
But it is. I'll tell you what's a good place. It's so just transparent.
Yeah. Nothing to hide.
Nothing to hide, mate.
But that's the best way, isn't it?
Beautiful.
Like, boom, that's me. That's really.
Yeah, take you guys
take it or leave it.
and the audience.
Yeah,
mate, take what you want.
Yeah, agree.
Process it what you want.
Agree.
If there's anyone out there who's struggling, you know.
Ken, where can people find you?
So, Kent Bray Counselling and Mentoring is my website.
Kent Bray Counselling and Mentoring.
Kent Bray Counselling and Mentoring. But what I'd urge people to do is, you know, when this podcast, I've done a few podcasts, LinkedIn.
Yeah. You on Insta?
I don't do much Insta.
But LinkedIn's your one.
Yeah, LinkedIn's my one. But there's some stuff. There's some podcasts that have been on YouTube.
Yeah.
Spotify.
Yeah.
So go in there, Kent Bray,
and have a look.
Spotify. Have a look. Have a listen. And if you think, you know, that you want to unload, you know, decompress, process some stuff, get in contact with me, and let's see how we go.
Yeah, quality.
And the beautiful thing I say to my clients is, it's safe, it's confidential. But the beauty is the non-judgment.
Yeah.
I don't, mate. No.
And you've been there and got the T-shirt.
Fucking oath. Survived.
Survived the T-shirt. Do you know what we should put on there? If you want a part 2, because I know there's loads more stories. There could be a part 2 here, I reckon.
Oh, mate, there's a ton of stories.
Because I think we could go and do another 5, 6, 7 stories within the next episode. If you want a part 2, let us know below.
Yeah.
Ken, I've loved this, mate.
Dodge, mate, same here. You know what? I feel like I've talked too much.
No, mate, it's good. It's nice.
I did it because I've got to be honest. I wanted to know more about you. I did. I wanted to know more about. As soon as you said about the pub stuff and the entrepreneurship, the stuff you said about those student bars and nightclubs and pulling in a few grand a week and all that sort of stuff, and
as a student,
ducking and diving and mate, all that stuff. Right, that's street smart.
Yeah, mate.
And that sets you up for the you know, that resilience and that strength, and you know, knowing how to garner a pound note.
Absolutely, mate.
I might have to start my own podcast.
I think you should.
You'd be my first guest.
I'm in, mate. I'm in. Kent, you're a legend, mate.
Top man.
You're
Thanks,
a gentleman.
Dodge.
I thoroughly enjoyed that, mate. And congratulations, 9 years clean.
Yeah, 9
and
years
sober.
Top man.
You're a gentleman.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dodge.
Thanks, mate.
Top man. Thank you.
Woo! Wow. That was fucking brilliant. Mate, that was brilliant.
Was it?
That one just good. That was brilliant.
That was brilliant.
Wasn't it?
That was
numbers?
I mean, yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, same. 9s for me. No such thing as a 10.
Can I ask you a question, mate?
Of course.
But I love Gary, and I how you were talking about wealth and equality, by the way, that's my thing, and I'm obsessed with that kind of stuff.
Tell them how old you are.
I'm 25.
Yeah.
A lot of my mates even are not switched onto this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
This is my bag. Do you think Gary's kind of the arrogance mixed with his, I don't know, the persona he has to give off mixed with the TV shows that he's plonked on, whether it's Stephen Bartlett, BBC,
Piers Morgan.
Piers Morgan. Do you reckon there's almost an agenda that he has to meet because he's got to get views at the end?
I think he's doing an amazing job of raising awareness.
Yes.
Real issues, proper fucking issues that people on the street, not just in East London where he comes from, all around the country. There's 25-year-olds going, how the fuck am I going to get in the property ladder? How am I going to get in the property ladder, right?
Yeah.
So there's an old saying, right? Those that lead us in war don't necessarily are the right people to lead us in peace.
Yeah.
And I think Gary is absolutely fantastic in mobilising a body of disenfranchised people, which is real.
Yeah.
It's not a myth. It's real. And his personality, whether consciously or subconsciously, is dividing people, right? But that's fueling the eyeballs on the issue.
Yeah.
So whether he's doing, I don't think he's doing it consciously. I just think he's, and all that, someone said to me, I bet you he fucking wears all that hoodie and trainers to garner an image. I said, no.
No, I can see.
He came to CitiBank like that.
Yeah.
He came to CitiBank and what's they, Okasui, the fucking, it's the Japanese trainers with the fucking stripes down the side, right? Okay, I can't pronounce it.
Yeah.
Trainers.
Footy socks.
Yeah, a hoodie
Yeah.
and a t-shirt at CitiBank.
Yeah.
And mate, he is true.
Yeah.
He's genuine. And I think you're right. I think that whether he's doing it consciously or subconsciously, I think he knows that if he gets a bit controversial,
eyeballs.
Well, Dodge.
Yeah.
You work out, you said to me.
Yeah.
I said, when will this go out? You said, well, it depends on how good it is, right?
Yeah.
It's all about You said shock people.
Yep.
Get people interested.
Yep.
Look at it.
Yep.
Gary's the same.
Yep.
Shock people. You know, whether he's not. See, he would say, like, I've got a theory that he's still saying he's number one at CitiBank because there's people like me going, bullshit.
Yeah.
But leave him alone.
Yeah.
He's our man. He fucking was. You don't like him.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah.
Still, and I hope he's genuine.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope he's authentic and not seeing this as another book's coming out. You know, I think he had 850. This is what he said. I think 850,000 YouTube followers before Stephen Bartlett, and that jumped to 1.2. And I'd imagine he wants to get 5 million.
Yeah.
Mate, he'll get 5 million.
Yeah, he will.
Gary will get 5 million
Yeah.
YouTube followers. Now, you tell me, does that equate to money? YouTube followers.
It can do in the long run.
It equates to other. It equates to all the spin-offs.
Yeah.
You got the eyeballs, you can do events. You got the eyeballs, you can sell books. You got the
Gotcha.
eyeballs, you can do PAs. You got the eyeballs.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You went to his show, didn't you?
I did. The reason why I like Gary's kind of thing so much, and people are going to have their flaws, but the difference between, and very few people actually understand this, is the difference between wealthy and the super wealthy. Like as 25, there's just such a big difference between your guys' wealth and then the Amazons of the world, and that's what that gap. People just group everyone in the same kind of box, and that's.
But there's
that's
also a
not
big gap
understood.
between our age group who've done all right for themselves, compared to a 21-year-old just come out of university going, 50 grand worth of debt. What the fuck does the world look
I hope
like?
it comes across with Gary is that, like, I'm a mixed bag with Gary.
Yeah.
He's 100% right.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. If you'd like to see someone on the show, leave a comment below. And if you haven't already, do us a favour, show us a bit of love, press the subscribe button, and that allows us to grow the show even bigger and bigger each week. Nice one.